curve. Everybody passed. 3 people tried to not pass, but they passed. I mean, you gotta work hard not to pass. Don't give me that look. You passed. Way more than passed.
I know I passed.
Good.
And it's by the grace of God.
No, you did better than that. There's people around here who would love to have your grade. Who are you kidding? What? There it is. Stop. Here we go. All right. That's it. That's in the past. Here's the future. Here's my pen. Here we go. Project scheduling. That first is called with. What is it with? Expected activity times. Right? This will make sense in a minute. Then we're heading where with uncertain activity times. There's that one.
Is there abbreviations for this?
I'm making a note as I'm ready.
Okay.
And then Monday, you better be here. This crashing. Learning how to crash is the hardest part of this chapter. I break it down to make it as easy as I can. But if you don't hear me lecture this, and you try to teach yourself by the PowerPoint or by the book, you will most likely not figure it out. It'll take way too long. I'm going to break it down into a logical step for you to try to make it as easy as possible, but it is a hard concept to crash a project. Crashing a project's where you're the project leader, and you put this whole thing together, and you go to your boss and you say, hey, this project's going to be done in 5 weeks. And they turn to you and say, no, 4 weeks. And you got to go back and hustle, trying to figure out how you're going to get it done in 4 weeks, and that's called crashing. And I'm showing you how to use math to crash, instead of just, let's just do this then, let's do this. You use math, and you know exactly then how to crash it, and you can get it done in 4 weeks. We're heading in this chapter where you're going to have to bring back the statistics. I know right now everybody's going to start sweating. You're going to have to use some statistics. I want to jump to that part right now just to kind of, it's not till Monday, but I want you to see it so you don't have a heart attack. This is another reason why you need to be here Monday. If you're going to skip, should be today. You're going to do this whole thing to figure out what the expected amount of time to get this project done in. And then you're going to be asked a question, hey, that project's supposed to take 23 units of time, but what is the probability that you will for sure get it done in 24 units of time or less? And then you've got to calculate the Z. You're going to learn how to find the standard deviation of the project through the critical path. I'm using a lot of words you're going to learn. And you calculate your Z, then you look up your Z in the back of the book. I may have the wrong page number there. That's the 14th edition page. I don't remember. I didn't look up the 15th yet to see what page it is. Let me know if it's the same page, though, if anybody happens to have 15. And you're going to have to calculate the probability. And if we have time today, I'm going to review this, because this will help you recall the whole Z concept. And some of you go, I said the statistics. Well, there's some people who saw the statistics, and then they leave statistics, and it's gone with it. So I want to make sure it comes back a little bit. So I'm going to try to present this in a way that really may not have been presenting your statistics, and it kind of look like a foreign language. I'm going to bring it back to where I'm going to try to make it an easy way of looking at this. But let's get started. You ready? Project scheduling. I love this chapter just because I happen to have a lot of experience using project scheduling, because during my work career, my short work career, I was usually picked to be involved in a lot of different projects, sometimes the project leader, mostly connected to construction projects we wanted to do. We built a museum when I was the assistant executive director for the Museum of African American History in Detroit, at that time the largest black museum in the world. And I was heavily involved in a dorm at another college I was administrator at, and a library and another building I can't think of right now. But my experience has been in building buildings. General contractors will always use project scheduling. I'm jumping right to the law stuff. All that other stuff you read at home before you got here. I see you guys smiling. Project scheduling, when you get a project, and I used to, at this class, you used to have a final project where you had to do one of these concepts wherever you work or something. And one of the students, back when I did this, I don't do this anymore, and I know you guys should be thankful that I don't, because it's a little bit of work. She did a wedding. She planned her whole wedding out using project scheduling and handed that in. It was excellent. You know, there was all this stuff. I can't even think of it because I've never been married, but there's all these things, and I never will. God help me. I'm never will be married. Okay, ready? Let me keep going. All these things all planned out. The key to project scheduling is you got to say to yourself, perform construction. What is the thing that will be finished right before I perform construction? It's not, there's a whole bunch of things that have to be done beforehand, but what's the item that will be just finishing that will allow me to start to perform construction, called the immediate predecessor. Let me say it again. The immediate predecessor is the hardest part about this. You got to realize, for this semester, I will always give you a list like this. You don't have to try to figure it out. And you can see here. So what's happening is, you make a list of all the things, and in project scheduling, when you're building a building, this is pages of activities. And then you start going through it and you say, okay, what do I think here? We need to develop a prospectus to attract tenants for this project, which we're going to talk about in a minute. But A would have to be done just finishing before we can get that prospectus done. So A is preparing the architectural drawings. So you have to wait till those drawings are done, then you can start putting this together. That's called an immediate predecessor. There may have been other things before that, but whatever it is has to be done right beforehand. So let's get to the story so this makes sense. One more example. When we're working on a building, it was always like, hey, the drywall is next. Well, what has to be finished just before the drywall goes up? The electrical wiring has to be finished because you cannot put drywall up until the wires are behind the wall. The plumbing has to be done just before you do the drywall. The studs are before the drywall, but they're not just before the drywall. Right before the drywall is the electrical wiring, the plumbing, because once all those boxes are in place where outlets are going to be, the drywallers come in now and they can start putting up the drywall. You know, the light fixtures are where the boxes are where they're going to be, they can start putting up the drywall. That's the immediate predecessor. So in this project, this is a, whoops, where is it? This person owns a shopping center. It's a big one. How many? 32 businesses in there, but they want to expand it. And they want to get 8 or 10 more units and get 8 or 10 more businesses. So the list of all the activities to get this is you can see there's only, what, 3, 6, 9 activities. In reality, that's 100 activities to this list. So prepare the architectural drawings, identify potential new tenants. Now what's happening here, and this is what's great about building a building, is when you're working with the general contractor, every general contractor knows exactly how much time everything's going to take because they've built so many buildings. Like, hey, how much time will this drywall take? Well, this is 50,000 square feet. We've done all these buildings at 50,000 square feet, and it always takes 10 days or something like that. And so you can put 10 days. But we're heading to where there's projects where we don't know for sure where we're not sure how much time it will take for sure. And so you put together a schedule more like this, where you go, well, whatever this activity is, we think it's going to take 6 hours, and this takes a lot of meetings to put this together. You're meeting out. You hate going to meetings because you put so many. 6 hours, and someone at the table will go, oh no, that's going to take 8 hours, and someone else goes, I can get it done in 4, something like that. So you debate it a little bit, and you put 3 times. Because when you're not sure exactly how much time it's going to take, you need to have a most likely, if things go great, if things don't go so great. Pessimistic and optimistic to what they're called. I was always the optimistic when it comes to getting projects done, because I was always like, let's do this first thing in the morning, do this. So this is when you're not sure of the time. When we're building a building, almost every general contractor is like all over it with exact times. So it's more like this one that we just saw right here. So this one, when you're at the meeting, you feel, everybody feels confident of how much time it's going to take, it's called project scheduling with expected times. When you're doing project scheduling with uncertain times, you have to convert those range of times into a specific most likely time, and it's not just the most likely, there's a math to it. And then you solve it just like we're going to learn with expected times. But that step to convert those times is the extra step when it's uncertain, which is where we're heading. Here, we know the times. That's going to take, is this days or what is this? I always say units of time because I never know. This is going to take 5 units of time, 6, everybody's agreed, 4, 3. We got our list. We got what's before it. And in the past, I then would be asking you to draw a network that represents this. I'm going to give it to you. You don't have to draw in this class. And it's going to look like this. Now follow the arcs. The arc should be leading from one activity to another if it is the immediate predecessor. So you go back up here. It should match this. G, perform construction, should have arcs coming into it from D and F. Take a look. Where's G? Right here. D's coming in, F's coming in. Get it? And that's how these are put together. You kind of start at the beginning, but you leave yourself enough space because you want to make sure you don't. The objective, to make this nice and clear, is you try not to cross arcs. That means you kind of, oh, I should have had that up there, I should have this down here. You try not to cross arcs, but you can. I've crossed many arcs, and it works out, but that's kind of the way you're supposed to do it. So now, you get this, you're meeting and meeting and meeting, you put this together, we're going to do this, this construction of these extra things. Here's all the things we got to do, a micro of all the things we got to do. Here's the immediate predecessors. Here's how much time it's going to take. Let's figure out how this project will be done now. What day should each activity start? What day should each activity end? What day should the next activity start? And you go to this. You take now your network and you cut it into boxes. And in the top left-hand box is the letter of the activity. In the bottom left-hand box is the amount of expected time it should take. And this is how you figure out the project time. Now we're heading to where we want to know how long this project's going to take. And if we have to crash it or not. This first one we're not going to crash, but this is how you do it. Hey, what the heck's going on there? Is that it? No. There, that one. Right? Yeah. Okay. There it is, sloppy as it could be, same numbers. You're about to learn what's called a forward pass and a backward pass. The only part that's tricky about a forward pass and a backward pass is when you have more than one activity preceding the activity you're trying to figure out the amount of time, the data, the time part, it should start and end. The top boxes are your forward pass for each activity. The bottom boxes are your backwards pass. The forward pass is to figure out how much time this whole project is going to take. The backwards pass is to figure out which activities are your critical activities and which activities have what's called slack, where there's time, they don't have to start right away type thing, and they won't affect the time of the project. This is all about making sure this project gets done in the time that you've estimated. Because I've always been the finance person on all these projects. And I'm the one always arranging the loans. And the loans are always done what's called a bridge loan. I don't know if anybody's ever heard of a bridge loan, but commercial projects use what's called a bridge loan. The bank will say, we're going to lend you this $1 million. And you only, we're going to lend you part of this $1 million to get the project started. And to start with, because this project isn't generating any revenue yet, you only have to pay us back interest, none of the principal. It's like, oh my God, this is so cheap. I'm only paying back the interest. What rate are we at? 6%, 8%? All right, so far I'm only been given $300,000 times 6% divided by 365 days or 12 months. Here's how much I got paid monthly, just the interest portion. So it's cheap, it's great. You get a little bit through the project, you get a hold of the bank, and we're at that point, we're past a third. They transfer another $300,000 into your account, and you're paying the general contractor, and pays all the subcontractors, and so on, and the project continues. And at this point, you're now paying interest on two parts of the loan. So your interest payment's a little higher, but it's just the interest, it's nothing. Now you start to sweat. Because as you get towards the last third of this project, you just got the last third of the money, you now have all $1 million, you're paying interest on just the $1 million, but it's already been agreed upon before you ever start this loan that there's a date that you have to start making principal and interest. That principal part of that payment is like 10 times just the interest part. Your loan payment goes from like $500 a month to $5,000 a month. And if you don't have that project done in time, if you ever watch like a movie, oh, we got to get this done in time, or a TV show, it's got to be done in time. The reason is, if the project is not generating revenue like you planned, you still got to pay that bank. Where's that $5,000 going to come from? If I run out of cash and I can't pay employees, they're gone. They're walking out on me. No one's working without getting paid, but I'm out of cash because we didn't get this project done in time. That's the key, is getting the project done in time, having the financing planned out with a little cushion as a protection so you don't run out of cash. I've been there. It's awful. It's the most stressful thing you can ever be involved in. So you've got a plan. You're going to forget all this because you're going to be in your career 2, 3, 4 years before you get the chance to take on a project like this. But if it's a sophisticated company, you have been involved in a project with another project leader, and you're starting to learn how this is used on projects at that company. And you're learning about it, and this is part of the training. The company wants a return on the investment for all the training they're going to be giving you on all the different ways they do things. So they need you to stick around to start giving a return on all this time you're spending learning all this. So you luckily will start refreshing to you as you're in these meetings as a project person who isn't the leader, but you're hearing about how this is all done. Forward path. Anything coming out of the start means it had no immediate predecessor, and it starts at 0. So what do we have? We have A starting at 0. I don't know if this is days or hours, but we're going to call it days. So day 0, activity A starts. Day 0, activity B starts, and those are the only ones starting from the beginning, right? I just want to make sure you're putting this all together from this list, because this is all based on this. Notice A and B like that. That's how you know they have to come out of the start and they start at 0. How much time, look at the boxes, how much time does A take? We'll call it days even though we're not sure. How many days is A? Oh, Scott. 5. 0 plus 5. A should be done on day 5. If this is days, should be done on day 5. B should be done on day what? 6. 0, 6. The earliest B should start at 0. The earliest A should start at 0, and they should be done on 5 and 6. A at 5, B at 6. Let's go to C. C is immediately preceded by A. A is done on day 5. There's nothing else that precedes C, so on day 5, when that gets done, C can start on day 5. C takes 4 days. It needs to be finished on day 9. You got it. Let's go to D. Only preceded by A. A finishes on day 5, so it can start on day 5. Let's go.
1/9.
What? What?
1/9.
Oh, this ends at 5, and then you're going to add the amount of time C takes, so it's going to be done on day 9. So you help me right now with D. D has to start on 5 because A doesn't get done till 5. Tell me when D will end. Day what?
8.
8. Very good. Let's go to E. E is preceded by A, ends on day 5, so it has to start on day 5, finishes on day... You're getting this. This is almost too easy, isn't it? Let's keep going. But where's F? F is preceded by E. E gets done on day 6. F should finish as early as day 10. You're getting it. Let's go to G. G is preceded by D. D finishes at 8. Add 14. Help me with the math on that. 20. Not all at once. 20.
2.
Thank you. Who was it? Extra credit. Oh, sorry, Katie. H. Okay, here we go. This is the learning lesson. I hope you're taking notes. Here's what you should have written down. And you will have a forward pass and a backwards pass in your future, so I want to make sure you realize this. Forward pass preceded by more than one activity. You must use the largest ending of the activities, because they all must be finished if they're preceded by more than one activity. For example, H is preceded by C and B. C can't get done until day 9. B gets done on day 6. There's no way H can start on 6 because both of them have to be finished. So you use the larger number going forward. I'm emphasizing this because when we go backwards, it's the opposite rule. Everybody hear me?
Yeah.
When we're going backwards, you're going to realize the rule is the smallest number. Going forward, the largest number. When you have more than one activity, either after or before. Well, here we go. So H can start as early as day what? 9. Takes 12 days. We're at 21. You're going to watch this recording. I don't want you to miss it. You got it? Okay. You ready?
Was it G like that too?
G, where are we?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, G's pursued by 2 activities. I missed that. Why didn't anybody catch that?
We didn't know that.
Jason, you
Extra
did.
credit, extra credit.
If there were extra credit, I'd give it to Katie.
Yeah, I would.
You ready? So we blew up G. G should have been what?
8.
No, it already was 10. Because it's preceded by F and D. 8 and 10 are our choices. Got to go with the largest number, 10. Now it takes 14. We're at 24. All right? Where are we at? I? Are we really at I? I is preceded by 2 activities. H ends at 21. G ends at 24. I starts at? You got it. It's that easy. Add 2. This project is expected to take how long? 26. Because we're at the end. If there's 2 of them, whichever one's largest is the expected time. Hey, I'll take this project on. It's going to take 26 days. When we get to the end of this chapter, no, we want it done in 24 days. Figure it out. That's very common. I've heard this many times. Here we go now. We're doing a backwards pass, and you'll see the reason why. The real reason we're doing a backwards pass is to find the critical path, which has no slack, and to find the activities that do have slack. They're not as critical. We're starting at the end, and the activities coming from the finish backwards has to be at the project expected time. There's only one activity, which is I. So in the bottom right corner, I, going forward, should be finished about 26. Going backwards is also 26. Subtract 2. What do we get? 24. Look at this is called the earliest finish. This is the earliest start. This is called the latest start. This is the earliest finish. This is called the latest finish. If I were to subtract the finishes or the starts, I get 0. I'm going to put, and I am going to circle that. I just found what's called a critical activity, meaning there's no room for any slack here. Well, whoever's in charge of this activity, you better get started on day 24, because there's no buffer. If you don't get started on day 24, you're going to hold up the project, which means you're holding up the which means we're going to have to pay cash on the financing without any revenue coming in. And if all the employees leave because we can't pay them anymore, it's going to be your fault. That's how critical this critical activity is. When I identify critical activities, I went as far as calling whoever's in charge of the activity, which would be a subcontractor that's drywall. I literally call the person in charge of drywall and I say, look, don't forget, you're supposed to be here in 2 days. If you're not here in 2 days, you're going to cost me a ton of money. Please, are you going to be here in 2 days? Yes. And I learned that I would tell them 2 days, even if they had to be here in 3 days. That's what I learned. That you almost have to lie to them to get them there on time. Because it will cost you money if they're not. Let's go backwards now. We have 2 activities going backwards coming out of G. The right-hand side, the latest finish, can be the smallest of the latest starts of the activities after it. So we have, with H, wait, is there only one activity? Where are we at? No, after. Okay, G, thank you. G has, it only has I after it? There's only one activity after it? We're not at a tie? Okay. 24 is the latest start, so the latest finish for this one. Is this the only activity after it, right? Everybody see the same thing I'm seeing? Yeah. So that would be 24. 24. Minus 14 is 10. Look at the earliest start, day 10. Look at the latest start, day 10. Finishes, 24, 24. What did I just discover? Another critical activity. I'm circling that, I'm highlighting it. I'm looking up phone numbers right now to figure out who the hell these are. H. H only has I after, is that right? Latest starts 24, so this could finish as late as 24 and not hold up I. Subtract 12, we're at 9, 10, 11, we're at, is that 12 right here?
Yeah.
Now look at the starts. It could start on day 9 or it could start on day 12. There's a difference there. And the difference, you can either use the starts or the finishes to find that difference called slack. The slack for, what is this, H? Is 3 days. What's nice about activity that has slack is I don't have to call them and make sure they're there on day 9. I don't have to worry about them. When day 9 comes and they're not there, I don't have to stress out too bad, but I will call them and say, hey, we were expecting you today. Are you going to be here tomorrow? I don't let them know they have 3 days, or they'll take all 3 days. This is what I've learned about construction. I don't know about, there's a lot of other activities that probably don't go this way, but with construction, this is how it always went. I'm not going to tell them they have 3 days slack, or they will not be there for 3 days. I'm saying, look, you were supposed to start day 9. Please tell me you're going to be here tomorrow, because you're going to cost me money, even though we really have 3 days. Yes, they don't show up again. I mean, that's how it goes. And I'm not sweating yet, because now we're on day 10. We still got buffer. You're coming. You told me you'd be here today. What's going on? Blah, blah, blah. Here's every lie I can tell you. I'm just hearing now. Sounds like someone handed in their homework. And done. It's not a real activity. I don't have to sweat over it. I got some buffer there. I look to see if they show up or not, and then I make a decision to bug them or not. Critical activities, though, you've got to be all over it. Go ahead, Jason.
How did you get H with 24 and 12?
It is only after I, and the latest start for I is 24, so I have to carry that over to the latest finish, because I has to start on 24. So this doesn't really have to be finished till 24. Even though we would like to see it finished at 21, it could be done at 21, but if it's not done at 21, it's not going to hold up the project. It could be done as late as day 24 and not hold up I. So that's called slack. There's a buffer there that is not as critical of an activity. It's not going to hold up the project. They're not there on the day they're scheduled.
You just subtracted 12.
Yeah, the difference either the starts or the difference of the finishes here. Oh, I see. Yeah, 24 minus 12, 12, and then the difference here is just slack.
Right.
You either go the finishes or the starts, the same number, whichever one you want. Let's get the one that has 2. Where are we going on letters? F. Let's do F. Does that only have 1 after it though? G. What's the latest start on G? Not all at once. 10. Is that right? Subtract 4. 6. What did we just find? There it is. Let's go to, where am I at? F, E, where's E? Now let's go to D. No. Okay. No? Which one has more than one activity after it? A. That's the only one. We gotta wait till A so you can see this? Or did we already do one? Darn. Let's keep going. Okay, let's do E. You guys tell me, what's the latest finish for E? Anybody? 6 it is, because F is the only one after it. The latest start, right there, the latest start transfers to the latest finish of the previous activity. Subtract 1, 5, we just identified. Critical activity. D, what's the latest start right here for D? What's after D? There's so many lines up there, it's hard to tell. 10, because G is after it, and the latest finish for G is a 10. So that's a 10. Subtract 3. We're at 7. Critical? Slack? How much? 2 days. I'm going to put a 2 slack right there, so I know that one has, I didn't even mean to circle, excuse me. That has 2 days slack. I don't have to sweat over it. I just want to see if they make it on day 5 or not, then I start plugging them. Where's C? C has only H after it. What's the latest it could start? 12. Subtract 4. 8. How much is the slack? 3 days. Don't have to worry about that one so much unless they don't show up on day 5. B only has 1 activity after it. What's the latest B could start? I heard it over here. 12. Subtract 6. Is it critical? How much slack do we have? 6 days. Wow, that's a lot of slack. This is one I wouldn't even ask who's in charge of that one. I guess so much slack there. Here we go with A. A has 3 activities after it. You got to look at the latest start for all 3 activities, and you should tell me which one then would be the latest finish for A, without me telling you the rule again. Let me look at the 3 numbers. 5, I see, 7, and 8. Is that correct? I'm going latest start, latest start, latest start. 5, 7, 8. A, what number do I put here? 5. That's right, the smallest number when you're going backwards. Largest going forward when you have multiple activities before it. Smallest number when you're going backwards. So you got to put a 5 here. Subtract 5 is 0. What kind of activity is that? Thank you. I heard over here critical. We're done. Now I need you to tell me the critical path. Going from start to finish, there always will be a critical path lined up with critical activities. I heard A. E I heard. F I heard. G I. There's your critical path. As we start heading to activities with uncertain activity times, that critical path you identify is what determines the project variance. You've got to be able to calculate the project variance so you can calculate the Z to get the probability of it being done at a certain time, more or less. Whatever you're being asked. Everybody hear that? Can you, if you're given known activities, if you're given a drawing that's blank like this, hang on. You're given a drawing that's blank like this on a quiz and says, do a forward and backwards pass. You feel pretty confident you can fill in all the blanks, right? Not too bad, right? Okay. All right. I know it's almost too easy. You ready? Here's your first example of the software. I've been avoiding software because all the other classes are saying, stick with Excel, stick with Excel. We're trying to keep Excel all the way through the rest, all the way until you get to graduation. You see Excel in most every class from this point on. We're using the software because I had never seen an example of how to solve using Excel on CPM. And I don't want to feel like we're figuring it out right now. So we're going to use this module 7. This is chapter 9, PERT CPM, project scheduling, really what I always call it. This isn't bad. And then you go 5, new. Do we have known activity times or uncertain? We have known, right? Somebody have those activity times open so they can read them to me? How many activities are there? There were 9, I think. Is that correct? Anybody have that slide open, Jason?
Yeah, 9.
Neil? Anybody?
9 times 9.
Thank you. And then we click OK, and it looks like this. You'll have 9 letters there because you said 9 activities. When you click on the first letter, there's no way it can have a predecessor. It's your very first one. What's the expected time for A? 5. And then you go now and click on B and watch what happens. A goes over there. It says expected time 5. You're developing that same chart you saw on the PowerPoint. Does B have anything that precedes it immediately? No, so I don't need to click on anything. How much time does B take? I can't hear you. 6. Let's go to C. Any activities precede C? What is it? A. So you go right here and click A. Oh, what did I do? I did on purpose. I accidentally clicked too many. Watch how easy it is to fix. All right, so A precedes it. How much time does C take? 4. Let's go fast now. Ready? D. What precedes D? A and?
3.
Oh, A is the only one? Okay, and then 3. Okay, what precedes E? Just A? Okay, how much time? Can't hear you.
1.
1?
No.
One.
No.
I hear so many different things. You know, like I'm old. I barely got ears. I went to more concerts than you can count. And I barely got ears. Give me, what am I on? Well, if you could see this, that'd help. You guys say something. What am I on? F? What precedes F?
E.
Just E, that's it?
Yeah.
Well, how much time?
4.
4. Give me G. What precedes it?
D and F.
D and F. Here we go. D and F. And E.
Somebody said E.
Okay, give me G's time.
14.
Good. Let's go to H. Give me, what precedes it?
B and C.
B and C. Give me the time, Jasmine.
12.
12. I, what precedes it? Just G?
G and H.
G and H. And the time for I?
2.
2. Check it over. Wait, the 2 doesn't get there until I click somewhere else. There we go, now the 2's there. Check it over, make sure it looks right. Go up here for solution. Click solve. Okay. You're not going to see it the way I put it on a chart. You're going to see the earliest start for every activity. What order are they going here? Latest start for every activity. That would be the top left-hand corner, the bottom left-hand corner of the 4 that have times. Top right-hand corner is the earliest finish. The bottom right-hand corner is the latest finish. It jumps out at you over here as to which ones are critical activity because the word yes is there if it's critical. If it's not critical, it gives you the slack for the activity. Are our slacks correct? Does B have 6? H have 3? Can't find the other one. Does D have 2? So we did it right here. The critical path is given to you right here. A, E, F, G, I. And here's the expected amount of time that project takes.
Did you say you made this?
What?
You made this program? Or
No. This came as
Oh.
I didn't make you buy it because I'd give it to you.
Oh.
But we're breaking laws. Okay, 26 days is the expected time for this project, okay? And that's how it's done. When you have known activity times, it's pretty easy. How do we feel? We're okay? We'll just get into the uncertainty here.
Is there a way to do this with Excel, or does it have to be done in?
If you find it, send it to me, will you? I'm sure it's out there, but I've never done it with Excel. Because this is so easy to use. I'm sure it's a lot easier to use in Excel.
Yeah, I don't want to write those formulas down.
All right, here we go now. Where am I? Here, right here. Boom, boom. Earliest start, earliest finish, time expected, blah, blah, blah. I literally showed you how to do all of this step by step. Here it is on the PowerPoint and in your book. But I know you don't want to read it, so I just showed it all to you. Right? Blah, 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 blah. This all looks familiar, right? Blah, 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 blah. This is what it looks like with the output. It looks just like our output, I think. Right? All right, guys, here we go. Oh, yeah, if you can't remember the order, number 1, develop the list of activities, and number 2, determine the immediate predecessors. Number 3, estimate the amount of time each activity will take. Blah, 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 blah. Don't pack up. Here we go. We're just going to start on certain activity times. You saw that chart. You're given the least amount of time it could take, the most amount of time it could take, and the most likely amount of time it could take. You must convert those 3 times by using this formula. 4 times that most likely time, that center one. Then add the other 2 times, the shortest it could take, the longest it could take, and divide by 6. You've got to put the most weight on that most likely time. That's why we're multiplying it times 4. So there's 4 of those, pessimistic and optimistic added to it. That's 6 numbers we just used. Divide by 6. Now you just turn these uncertain times into a time you're going to use for that activity to do your forward and backwards pass, just like we just did. But you got to get every one of these activities and do this calculation to decide which amount of time you're going to use to do the forward and backward pass. So I just want to do one of these real quick. We'll talk about this Monday. Here's what it looks like. You went to 10 meetings, you're meeting out, everybody argued how much time everything you take, and everybody came up with these amount of times for each activity. Do we have 9 here again? No, we have more. 3, 6, 9, 10, 11. here's the time. I'm just randomly picking I. What amount of time we have to use to do our forward and backwards pass is we take I and we go 5 times 4 equals 20. We add, where was I? 2 and an 8. We add 2, we get 22. We add an 8, we get 30. Divide by 6. We use 5 units of time for that activity for our forward and backwards pass. Everybody see that? I went fast.
You did it so fast.
But it's so easy. Let me do it again. 4 times the most likely time. All of these are times 4. Then we add that and that to it to make 6 numbers. And then divide by 6. Want to do one more?
Yep.
Here we go. Hang on, let me look.
If possible,
Just tell me C. I don't have to do any math on C. What will be the calculation for C if I did all that?
3 times 4 plus.
You don't have to do the math. Look at the times. What's the most likely time? What's the pessimistic time?
3,
What's the optimistic time?
7.
So obviously C is 3. In the meeting, I want to tell you where this comes up. Everybody's going, that's going to take 3 days, or whatever this is, it's hours. That's going to take 3 hours. And the next person goes, yeah, that's going to take 3 hours. Yeah, that's going to take 3 hours. No more or less? No, that's 3 hours. 3, 3, 3. Every once in a while, you have an activity that, you don't have, how much time it's going to take, so you make each number, optimistic, pessimistic, and most likely the same number. It's just saying that's going to take 3 units of time. All right, you guys, we'll pick up from here on Monday, okay? Be prepared for crashing. Matter of fact, do yourself a favor and just look at crashing before you get here, so that everything I'm going to tell you will make more sense.